Welcome to Half Sword. Half Sword is a fairly generic looking game. However, if we look at the Steam description, we can see that it says, Half Sword is a physics-based medieval combat simulator featuring historically accurate 15th century arms and armour. Now, by that description alone, it sounds fairly generic. However, there is one aspect that sets it apart from other combat simulators, and that is physics-based. The physics are the most defining feature of this game, as every movement of your arms in-game is dictated by the mouse trajectory of where it's going. Swinging or jabbing a sword physically requires you to move your mouse to swing. Targeting individual locations requires you to move your mouse there. Say for example, if you were to behead someone, you would have to aim for the neck. Everything is controllable, except technically your kick, as it's just one button, but it really doesn't matter. This allows you to have a fully controllable combat system, with you utilising every bit of momentum and physical attack. You have to keep in mind distance, as if you're too close, you may accidentally hit the enemy with the wooden handle rather than the actual blade, causing, well, blunt damage, but not really any damage. Obviously, this isn't flawless, as you don't really have depth perception in the game. However, it is a really cool system that I love. Another major aspect of the game is, well, half swording, and that is basically where you put up a sword, you grab the handle and the blade of the sword and basically do a blocking movement. That's how you really counter the enemy, as you can lift up the enemy's weapon and then slice wherever you want because you have full control over them. It really is kind of OP, but granted that's the name of the game, and well, people actually did that. Obviously it is quite jank, as potential physics objects may glitch inside the game, so your ragdoll might, spaz out a little bit, or you might have your hand behind your back or something like that. There's also been some glitches where if you hold on to the enemy, you do fly around for some reason. I've probably got some clips that are playing right now that showcase it, but it is quite comedic when that happens, but there are definitely bugs. Now, there's one thing that you may have noticed about this game, and it's the gratuitous gore system in Half Sword is one of the most laid out gore systems I've ever seen in a game. The only other gore system which was similar was Blood Trail, but that's a whole different kind of worms. The system presented in Half Sword is an extremely gruesome depiction of gore, while being a good piece of practical information, as depending on where you hit, it showcases a specific part of the body that you slashed. This is an excellent piece of visual indication of where you have hit, as it also showcases the severity of the damage you have dealt to the enemy, as light hits will only result in scratches and tissue damage. However, deep lacerations will cause the enemy to not be able to use their weapons properly, stumble about, have visible bone/muscle showing from the wound, and overall a more likelihood of giving up or bleeding out. The decapitation/amputation of limbs is also interesting, as it is a direct cut of where your weapons actually hit. So, for example, if your weapon was at a slanted angle, the decapitated part would also be at an exact same angle. This results in some pretty gnarly bodies, as sometimes the torso could be cut where it's still attached to the crotch, but it is nearly chopped off, so it's just hanging on by a piece of, flesh. And it really is pretty gruesome. Blunt weapons have also received a similar treatment as bladed weapons, as hitting someone with a blunt weapon results in massive bruising on their skin, as well as internal bleeding, which will kill. Overall, the gore system is an interesting system that, in my opinion, benefits the game, as it makes the fights feel much more impactful and dangerous, as one little slip up and, well, it's over. The last thing I'll say about Half Sword is the game modes and classes. The two main game modes are a 1v1 game mode and a free-for-all game mode, where you go up against 3 enemy combatants. These are the game modes that are available to all classes and are pretty much self-explanatory, you know how 1v1 works and free-for-alls. For the less armoured classes, there is this game mode called Spoilage, and it's basically a battle royale where all the items spawn in the middle, and you have no weapons on you, and you just run to the middle and you grab them and start fighting each other. It's quite fun. The other two game modes are for the more armoured characters, and they are called the Small Behurt, which is a 3v3, which is pretty self-explanatory what that is, and Brave Sun, which is a 1v4 where you're provided with more armour than the enemies to even out the odds. Overall, the game modes are great. They set out what they want to achieve, which is a basic combat arena. The classes are also fairly basic, with them just being how armored do you want your guy to be and what type of weapon do you want, with the armor and weapons scaling up in how, you know, professional, or like how the weapon fits the role. So for example, if you're a peasant, you're going to be given like axes and pitchforks, but if you're the more armored dudes, you're going to get like swords and actually proper blades and warhammers. So, you know, it varies on how much you want. But that's about it for the game. It's not really bare bones, except from the map and, well, what you can really do in it. But it's really an interesting playtest. If you haven't played the game, I'd highly suggest go play it, yeah. It's only 2 gigabytes, and all you need to do is just click sign up for playtest and you'll get it immediately, as well as the demo, which is this weird little roguelike game mode which they threw in there for fun, and that's also kind of interesting, but it's just roguelike half sword. So yeah, go ahead and try it out. It's really fun and a really interesting game. Thank you for watching. If you like this type of content, i.e. reviews or just talking about a game that I like, then subscribe, as I'd probably make more videos like this if people want me to. But yeah, see you later, I guess.